your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county and of those whose interest you have committed to our church. Amen. Welcome. I can see there are some visitors also in our gallery. Welcome. Honorable members, I think it's good we start with introduction, and we are going direct to honorable members. It's good to have seen Mheshimiwa Rende. You can introduce yourself.
I'm Nicholas Bitog Rende, MCA representing the Tapsago ward, and a member to this committee.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Naomi Serem, representing gender, a member to this committee.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Julia Songok, member representing Tulwet Chuyat, and also a member to this committee.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Macrina Kebene, member to this committee.
I think I had done my introduction. Once again, I'm Nicholas Bitog Rende, MCA at Tapsago ward, and a member to this committee.
I hope it was not a design for you to introduce yourself twice, but there's no problem. I understand why you are there. We move to this side.
Good morning, all. I'm Honorable James Serem, member representing great people of Karona Maipeki and member to this committee.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Honorable Richard Kering, representing Gary Ward and also a member to this committee.
Jambo wote, naitwa Mheshimiwa Ezekiel Kodingeti, mwakilishi wa Ziwa, member to this committee.
Morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Abdi, representing gender and a member to this committee. Thank you.
We move to our secretariat.
Good morning. My name is Miriam Sawe, HR.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lillian Koech, Searching and Transfer Committee.
Good morning. My name is Cornelius Kipkoske, Committee Clerk.
Thank you. Maybe we can give her to introduce herself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just a brief introduction, or maybe before that, let me go through our mandate before I give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. The mandate of this committee, one, is to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters relating to the mandate, management, activities, administration, operation, and estimates of the assigned sectors. Number two is to study the program and policy objectives of sectors and the effectiveness of the implementation. Number three is to study and review all county legislation referred to it. Number four, study, assess, analyze the relative success of the sector as measured by the results obtained as compared to the stated objectives. Number five is to investigate and inquire into all matters relating to the assigned sectors as they may deem necessary and as may be referred to them by the House. Number six, to vet. This is very important. This is why we are here, to vet and report on all appointments where the Constitution or any law requires the County Assembly to approve, except those under Standing Order number 197, that is under Committee on Appointment. And the last one is to make reports and recommendations to the House as often as possible including recommendation of proposed legislation. Those are the mandates of this committee, and I will give you a chance. I will give you a chance to maybe make a brief introduction. You introduce yourself. Tell us about who is Marion Chepkemboi Birgen, where you have been working, just briefly, so that we move on.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll begin by introducing myself. My name is Marion Chepkemboi Birgen. I'm married to Mr. Kitur, and that is how I acquired my fourth name, which is Kitur. I'm a resident of Uasin Gishu, from Mainapkoi sub-county, from Olare Ward, Kipkabus location, Tilol sub-county, and the Lake Village. I began schooling way back in 1978, and I completed class 8 in 1985. In 1986, I went through to high school at Moi Girls, Eldoret, completed in 1989. And I did well and passed and with a B- and was invited to Egerton University to study Bachelor's of Education. That was, started that degree course in 1990. We graduated in 1995, and I graduated with a second class honors lower division. I was absorbed in employment by the Teacher Service Commission from 1995. My first station was Tilol Secondary. My second station was Cheptiret Secondary. Then it was a mixed school. That was from 1988 to 89. I transferred to Kipkabus Boys in the same year, 1999, and I taught in the station up to 2011. All this time, my teaching subjects were Kiswahili and history. And this gave me a great advantage in terms of communication, especially using our language, our national language, Kiswahili. From Kipkabus Boys, I was transferred, I was actually deployed to Itigo Girls as a deputy principal. And that was in 2011. And I stayed at Itigo serving as a deputy principal on an appointed position up to 2012. And in the same year, around at the end of 2012, I received deployment on promotion as the principal at AIC Kaigat Secondary. Then that was a very new school. I was the first Teacher Service Commission employee deployed to the station, which I was able to deliver appropriately, setting the school, developing policies, infrastructure, and the curriculum-based establishment, that is the teaching force. I only stayed at AIC Kaigat for 1 year as a principal. Towards the end of 2012, I was now deployed to Ndalatka Girls as a principal, and where I have served to date. I want to really appreciate the fact that this has given me an opportunity to grow in terms of leadership, in terms of policy development, in terms of budgeting, and of course, all other very important components of managing resources and managing people. While at Dalatga, or even while at the various levels, I want to appreciate also the fact that in responsibility and duty, I have risen from being an assistant teacher all the way through to being a HOD. I started as an assistant HOD, and then I was internally appointed as a HOD in UGCAPBU, where I was in charge of guidance and counseling. That was in 2006. And in the same year, I did a capacity building at the Kenya Institute of Staff Education. Then it was an institution that offered induction courses for teachers who were geared to becoming managers and heads of departments. And I realized my leadership from that induction. Because one, I was given a recommendation, having been a team leader, and was able to coordinate all the programs and the activities within that induction time, that induction was held at Njoro Boys. This actually opened my future in terms of leadership and management, and I want to really appreciate that recommendation that I was given gave me the confidence that I could actually organize and deliver. So I therefore became a HOD, head of department, from 2006 up to 2011, when I was internally appointed as a deputy principal in UGCAPBU's Boys. You'll appreciate that this was a boys' school, but I measured to the task and brought a lot of tranquility and peace in the school, gave the confidence to the students that it was possible to reclaim the glory of the school. The performance also measured favorably at that time. Having been a deputy principal internally appointed at UGCAPBU's Boys, I could not actually be substantively appointed. So I was deployed to Itigo Girls in the same capacity. And now that was my first substantive appointment by the Teacher Service Commission. And I worked in Itigo 2011 to 2012. And they realized my potential, and I was deployed to Ndalat Girls now as a principal. As a principal, I have undertaken my mandate very well, helping and developing school policies, development of the school, to an extent that as I sit, it is now a 7-stream school with a population of 1,147 students. When I took over, it was only double stream with 286. We have also grown the infrastructure, being able to accommodate all these students through school development, integrated development plan, the SIDP, and we have really steered to ensure that the school gets sufficient accommodation in terms of quality, in terms of accommodation, in terms of infrastructure. Also, as a principal, I have served in other capacities. In 2012, within the caucus of the Kenya Secondary Schools Association, in 2012, I was elected the assistant treasurer for Kenya Secondary Schools Association, Nandi North Chapter, which I served up to 2013, where in another election, I was given the responsibility, no, 2014, I was given the responsibility to be the vice chairperson of the association. I held that post, and then in 2017, there was another election where I was elected the secretary for Kenya Secondary Schools Association, Nandi North Chapter, and at the same time, I also served as the secretary, Kenya Secondary Schools Health Association, Nandi County chapter, and the two responsibilities ran concurrently. My mandate within the association as a secretary was on correspondence, also steering the activities of the association, particularly through resolutions. And of course, resolutions are binding agreements that we make after every conference, which I have attached a copy of some of the resolutions that we make as the Kenya Secondary Schools Association. I've also served in other capacities. My school was AIC sponsored, and we had the AIC Principals Association, where again I held as the secretary. Of course, this was an association that linked the sponsor to the schools, issues of chaplaincy, issues of management, because we always have a representative in the board through, from the sponsor. I've also been a secretary for Nandi North Region Evaluation. This was basically an examination body that we came up with in order to ensure that as Nandi North schools, we were able to compete favorably in terms of academic performance, in terms of development. Just to mention about a few, I've also, during the National Secondary Schools Association, I was also always appointed to be a rapporteur by virtue of holding that position as being the secretary, where in our national conference, I, among the other secretaries from the various counties, would take minutes and also develop the resolutions for the Kenya Secondary Schools Health Association. In brief, I want to say the belief that I have is that for every one problem, there are 1,000 solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you have given us full details of your CV. In fact, it's like you have summarized part of your CV. And maybe before we move to questions, I was going through your documents, and I think it is good at least you clarify on this before we continue. Your ID reads Chep Kemboi Birgen, and some of the documents reads Marion Chep Kemboi Birgen Kitur. I don't know, maybe you can just briefly explain to us who is Kitur, who is maybe Marion, because in between there was no Marion and there was no Kitur.
Thank you very much.
Although I have seen the affidavit.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to begin by saying every name has a meaning. And you can also see from my birth certificate, which I have attached, my name in the birth certificate is Marion Chepkemboi Birgen. When I changed my status, I've said I'm married. That's how I acquired Kitur. So, having sworn the affidavit, I want to confirm that I'm one and the same person of the names Marion Chepkemboi Birgen Kitur. So in the event some of my support documents would have two names, majorly Kitur would feature in many of my induction courses certificates. I wish to request this House that to kindly consider that I'm one and the same person.
Thank you. Thank you. My vice chair reminds me that it's like I have not introduced myself. I thought it is automatic, but anyway, for the benefit of others who are new, including maybe the nominee and the visitors, I'm David Piwot Keitany, chair of this committee, PSM. And maybe my vice chair, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Honorable Rhoda Chelagat Kemboi. I'm a vice chair to the same committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen also there are some honorable members who have joined us. Some are members to this committee, some are friends. Kindly introduce yourself. Let me start from the first line.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Our guests today, my name is Mary Goretti Boroswa, MCA for Kipsomba Ward, and a member to this committee. Thank you and welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Honorable Amos Kiptanui, representing Grace Coast Ward and a friend to this committee.
Greetings. I'm Honorable Patrick Meli Kimayo, MCA Mosbridge, Chairman Labour, and a friend to this committee.
Thank you. I've seen also one of our secretariat. Kindly introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm Richard Koech, Sajinata.
Thank you. I've seen my neighbor, Mheshimiwa from Soy Ward, Honorable Tamoge. Kindly introduce yourself.
I'm Honorable Isaac Chirchir Tamoge, MCA Soy.
Thank you, honorable members. I think we'll go direct to questions. And because of time, I think honorable members, we are all aware, we are only left with some few minutes. We are supposed to be done by 1 because of other vetting processes. And maybe to start, Madam Marion, now that you are going to be the CEO, which is the team leader of the Department of Public Service Management, I don't know how you understand about that department, Public Service Management. What is their work as a department, or what is going to be your role as a CEO in that department?
Thank you very, very much, our chairman. In my understanding, the chief officer has functions, and there are 2 key functions for the CEO. One is that chief officer is an accounting officer, and this is a delegated function, and also being an AIE holder. AIE is authority to incur expenditure. So I have the knowledge that all matters finance will rest in this office, but of course there are other support organs that will ensure that we have this responsibility being undertaken well. I also say this with the knowledge that public service management, having this function of being an accounting function, must work under certain laws. One is the Public Finance Management Act, which stipulates the operations and the limits of a chief officer within the department. Another major function is authorizing officer, and this will pertain matters recruitment, because public service is basically a department that deals with employees. So I would expect, therefore, that there will be the aspect of recruitment, aspect of discipline within this department, aspect of promotion, aspect of training. Those are the 2 major. But then there are also other functions. One, as per the Constitution, chief officer should be able to promote peace, order in the department. Another one is day-to-day running activities within the department, day-to-day activities, maybe like management of the payrolls, staff data. This is basically an administrative duty that must be undertaken. Implementation of policy is also within the mandate of the chief officer. Policy with human resource is one. Thank you.
Thank you. I was waiting to maybe to hear the issue of retrenchment, transfers, and the rest. But anyway, all in all, at least I've seen you know what it's all about that department. I know that some questions will still come out of that. I've seen Honorable Naum and at least one or two questions, and
Thank
then
you.
we move
Thank
to
you.
the
Thank you, Chair.
next. So before you ask your question, I want to request the nominee, Madam Marion, maybe you can write it somewhere so that maybe you can have maybe 4 questions, and then you can answer those 4 questions, and then we move to another set of questions. So, Mheshimiwa Naum.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity you've given me. I have 2 questions for our nominee, Marion. How are you going to handle the distribution of jobs if it occurs in the county? As the CEO nominee PSM, what criteria are you going to use in distribution? My question number 2 is, what about work plan of the department? How are you going to do it? Is it quarterly or annually? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I hope you have noted those 2 questions from Mheshimiwa Naum. Any other honorable member? Yes, Mheshimiwa Kering.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Marion.
Good afternoon.
And congratulations for this far. In that breadth of Mheshimiwa Naomi, according to distribution of jobs, it's recently when we came from elections, and as we were going round to be elected, we promised our electorates that given this opportunity, we'll come to do this and this and that. Now, this position was advertised, right? And I know you are with other members of the public doing this interview. And fortunately, you are here now. And as we can see at our gallery here, there are some visitors, members of public, accompanying you. Now, I don't know when during this election, maybe you supported someone, maybe that made you reach here, and now today you're here with your, let me call supporters, that given this opportunity, I'll see home, I'll see you people. You'll be the first people to be considered. How can you assure this house that you will do justice and distribute jobs equally to the 30 wards in Uasin Gishu County? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kering. A good, valid question. Any other honorable member with a question? The last one, then maybe you can give her the opportunity to answer. I've seen Honorable Koreti, I've seen you, Honorable Rende, but you will fall under the second batch of questions.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. My question is Marion. First of all, I want to really congratulate you for having attempted to apply for this docket of a CEO, public service, and also being a woman. We want to say we congratulate you because women also should come up, and we say bravo. My question is, what really motivated you to apply for this docket of public service? What motivated you most? Secondly, I think from the experiences you've given us from your workplace, I want to believe that you are aware that there are some workers in institutions who have actually improved on their academic by going back to school and attaining higher grades of certificates, and they have stagnated in the same working position for a length of time. Supposing you are given this opportunity and you find such a kind of group of persons who have stagnated for so many years without promotion, no motivation to them, what are you going to do as a public service CEO in our county? Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Korete. I think you can answer those few questions and then we move to the next.
Thank you very much, Chair. I wish to respond to the first question on distribution of jobs. I want to begin by stating that we all know, whether it is through public or it is through experience, that employment is indeed a biting issue. It is a very great challenge. Many youths have the qualifications, they have gone to school. Many of them have very, very attractive credentials. But this is one of the bigger challenge that even as I thought about public service management, I asked myself many questions. But I want to believe that when it comes to availability of jobs, I know, of course, we can't miss to have maybe one or two or even more. First, I will consider the wage bill. We know
Just to remind you that we are live. Remember what you are saying. It is live. The public are getting it direct from you. So when making such statements, you know that you are committing yourself. Continue.
Thank you. So I talked about when making any employment, first consideration is the wage bill, which I want to believe is even in the public domain, that currently, even nationally and the county, the two levels of governments are grappling with managing wage bill. But nonetheless, in matters distribution, because that is very direct, I would consider equity, implying look at all the lower levels, particularly the wards, and if possible, and by all wisdom, consider whether progressively to ensure that every lower level gets an allocation in terms of employment. I will also be very categorical in looking at the job description to ensure that the best candidate wins, so that we are fair in that matter. Criteria of distribution. I think a criteria would be a way, which I want to believe this one is related to the first question. I have talked about equity, and there are many other factors that I'll put into consideration. Maybe there are issues of look at the 30% group, look at the job description, and look at the availability of employment opportunities within the various departments, and from there make a decision that we can defend that decision, that we have considered every factor when it comes to giving that opportunity. The third question is work plan, whether it is prepared quarterly or annually. A work plan is prepared annually, but is broken into quarterly phases for purpose of implementation. We all understand that we have within it the annual development plan. The fourth question that I give the assurance that the jobs, if available, will be distributed to the 30 wards. I am guided by the Constitution on fairness.
Chairman. Point of correction, Madam Marion. I think you are repeating yourself on the same points. Thank you, Chair.
I think she's not repeating herself, my Vice Chair. It is because of a question which was asked by Honorable Kering. And I think that one was directly, it was on the issue of supporters. So maybe my Vice Chair was expecting to hear how you will handle your supporters when it comes to employment issues. Are you going to just assume them, or are you going to consider them?
Thank you very much. I know when it comes to handling people who have given you support, just like it was in practice, also in the field that I've been in, is rather delicate, but I believe I will give enough integrity to the process to ensure that everyone gets the shares fairly. And it's also good to be open.
You mean everyone who supported the government that you are or that you will be? Or I don't know. Kindly, I think that's what Honorable Kerim is after.
Can I get it clearly?
I think you are, the first thing that you are supposed to start with first is that, were you supporting anyone during 2022 election? And then from that, I think you will be in a good position maybe to answer Honorable Kerry.
Thank you, Chair. It is a constitutional right to vote. And I voted and gave support. But now that I am in this position with a mandate, you know, when it comes to implementing, we have guiding principles, we have guiding laws, which I must adhere to and follow. One is on fairness, which is a value within the Constitution, so that we are fair to ourselves, we are fair to everyone, whether they gave support or not. Because I've said again, when it comes to implementing, I will be guided by the Constitution. And also, we have employment laws, which I will refer to. We have an Employment Act, which will guide all activities pertaining to employment. One is job description, qualification, and then, of course, others that will be supported by the Constitution, and we know the Constitution is supreme in that matter. So I wish to assure our member, Honorable, that I will be fair as much as possible. I'll follow the law that has been stipulated because we are serving citizens of this country. And then question 5, question on motivation. Motivation is key. And maybe I could get this question right again.
I think it was a question from Honorable Corretti. Maybe you can just summarize again? The first one, I think the second question was clear.
The first question was actually what motivated you to apply for this job? And then again, in terms of upgrading of the staff, in terms of education advancement, and they have remained in the same job group, what will you do to motivate them? Thank you.
Thank you. I now get the question. I wish to respond, Chair, in the following. What motivated me to apply for this job? One, the experience I've had in the field of teaching and also in the level of management. I have been in management for over 14 years, which has given me enough experience, one, in management of human resource, because under me, I had 41 teachers, 20 of whom were TSC employees, and 21 were on a board of management. The 21 teachers on board of management are appointed, employed by the board of management, where I sit as a secretary. And I take a very active role, one, in advertising for the positions, two, on remuneration, three, establishing their duties and responsibilities, which I think this one will only escalate to the responsibility I will have at the county as a public service management officer. So what motivated me first is the experience that I have, which I believe I'll only scale it up because I know the county has a bigger employment force. Second is my qualification. You'll agree with me that in my master's, I did leadership and policy in education, where I'm well versed on matters policy, on matters leadership, which I believe is a component that will be required in managing the employees in the county. Why leadership? Leadership will enable me to come in, one, as an instructional leader. This will be about the day-to-day activities within the department. Number two, also strategic leader, because everything is about planning for the future. I should be able to give those objectives, the strategic objectives. I should be able to come up with a framework of how to implement these policies. I should be able to even predict and look ahead on even evaluation of these policies. Policies are key in managing the human resource, because without policy, nothing, no performance will really be realized. And another third motivating factor, I want to say, is the fulfillment as a person, the inner drive. I've had a lot of interest in managing people, and I have managed people even outside employment, right? Even in my village, I've always been working with women, I work with youth, and I offer leadership that will give them hope, that will give them advice on opening up of avenues. So this factor gave me the confidence that I can actually fit in very well into this. Another motivating factor, when I did my introduction, I said, I believe...
I think because of time on the issue of motivation, I think Honorable Corretti, you are satisfied on that. Maybe you can move to the second question of
yes.
Honorable Corretti.
Thank you. I'd have only wished, Chair, that I conclude on what motivates me. I just had one final that, you know, working with employees, definitely they have different aptitudes, they have different backgrounds, they come with issues, but that should never kill that performance. I said I believe that everyone problem has 1,000 solutions. So I should be able to offer appropriate solution to any challenge, any problem that the employees may have, even if it means looking at their mental health, which I believe is a current challenge affecting the employees in this century.
I hope what you are saying is what you are going to implement in case you become the CEO. So just to move to the last question of
I have tried it, and though at a very small scale, it really works. It really works.
Thank you.
Thank you. Workers who have stagnated for over a long period, I think also within the teaching profession, having those essential staff members, maybe who have received salary of the same status for a long time, stagnation happens everywhere. But with the knowledge that I have, I'll try as much as possible to motivate. Because if salary cannot be increased because of maybe some of those constraints, I'd wish to implore into other options. One, I can maybe design a motivation program so that they're encouraged while they're working. Motivation does not have to be monetary. It can also be a commendation, you know, to bring that satisfaction. When somebody said a happy workforce is a productive workforce. You can also see in my documents, I've never been given any monetary appreciation, but that recommendation has taken me this far, and I would do the same for those employees who have stagnated. The other option, in the event we have opportunities, maybe at the national government, and we have these very, very good employees, we can recommend that they seek opportunities maybe in other employment avenues. But I know one thing about public service management is retention. So in order to retain, we give them the hope, maybe through motivation, through advice. And also we can still offer opportunities for them to train further with the hope that help will come one time, and of course they should be able to be absorbed. I think hope is the biggest, is the virtue here.
Thank you. Although I know those who are in that line of maybe those who have stagnated or they have stayed for long without any promotion, I think maybe I will still have you, I'll still give you time so that maybe next, that one is maybe during your last presentation, please still consider that, because I know they are hearing you and they want to hear something to do with money. I know part of that is part of motivation, it is true, but where we are at the moment, life is not the way it was before. There was a time whereby you could even tell somebody thank you, and that was enough, but not nowadays. Thank you. It's in before Honorable Isaac, there was Honorable Songok, and also there was another honorable member who was to ask a question, Honorable Renta. Then I will give Mheshimiwa Isaac. Kindly 2 questions, or maybe 1 if possible.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. My name is Julius Songok. First, nominee Marion Birgen, congratulations for having this opportunity to be one of the nominees of the Public Service Management. My question is, having been given this opportunity to serve as a Chief Officer PSM, all matters will do about human resource, and I know that you being the CEO, how are you going to mobilize now your followers who are the employees to meet the objective of service delivery? Of course, we know that our main service here is to deliver to the people of Uasin Gishu. I know you'll have some challenges, but I just wanted to hear from you the skills that you are going to employ when it comes to how we are going to mobilize this staff. To me, that's a very important objective of service delivery. Number two is how you are going to, when it comes to petitions, maybe now and other dissatisfaction amongst the employees, what is your take now that that one may arise in one way or another? Because I know when there is in this, disciplinary cases, are you going to just give them just writing a caution letters, or what are your implications there when it comes to when there is a problem of petitions and any other thing that you may find not fit for the members of the those who have been employed? So maybe to that extent, I want to say that I'm a member. I was in the other committee of PSM during the other assembly, and I know that there are some cases that may be pending before the law of court, and I know those will come also to you. I think you'll handle that one when you are given this opportunity. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Renda.
Thank you, Chairman. One thing I like about our appointee, Madam Marion, who is our CEO, to come. There is a term she used that for every problem there must be 1,000 solutions. I learned that your profession was education, and I will prefer that you had been appointed as education in education sector rather than PSM, because that's where your heart is. What can you tell this committee on the issue that we usually learn that the person who learned about the education sector should go on that line? And the other one, because I would prefer that we had someone who learned about public administration, because that is the line where people can do. Number two, you talked about managing finance when given this opportunity as a CEO, public service management. I want you to be clear on your mandate if given this position, because we have a CEO finance. We'll be having a CEO finance. Will you be handling finance for which department? Or yes. Number three, if given this opportunity of being our CEO, PSM, there's emerging characters in our county where workers within this county are being found snatching some other people's properties, or mishandling the business community, and whatsoever. we have heard that there's some complaints even in social medias about employees of this county. What's your take if given this opportunity as a CEO, public service management? Last but not least, there is so much casuals in our county.
Is it very important than the first three?
Last.
I thought we had agreed to. I've
Last.
given you 3.
Oh yes.
So anyway, you can
Last
ask
question,
that.
Chairman. Please. There are so many casuals in the county. How many months or years will one work as a casual before the county employs him or her? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Tamoke.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be first. Thank you, Madam Marion, for being the member today to be vetted for this position of Public Service Management CEO. As you applied for the job, I think you've done your homework. And one, do you have the exact number of employees in the county? What is the number of permanent employees, interns, and the casuals as at the moment? 2, what is the wage bill at the moment? You've talked about managing the wage bill, and it's a concern. What is the wage bill at the moment? 3, job placement. As we embrace professionalism, for a motivated working force, somebody ought to work on this line of profession. So, job placement, there is a lot of mix. What is your take in the job placement with the employees? Another question. You are in a management kind of system as a head of an institution. This is a political managerial institution. Being a CEO in public service, you'll entangle politicians with interest, and also will entangle people with policy who want to drive the county with knowledge. What is your take on the systems? There are systems that have developed and the status quo. Will you join the status quo, or you'll have to realign the professionalism in managing the county's working staff?
Thank you, Honorable Tamoke. I think you have.
Thank you.
You had the opportunity to ask 3 questions. I think that is enough for now. Honorable Sarah, I don't know, maybe I will give you. You will be the first one when we come to that set of questions. And I think, honorable members, time is not on our side. Now I will request maybe Madam Marion to be brief on those few questions. They are not few, they are around 8 questions. 8 to 10 questions. Kind.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. One, I want to respond to the first question on human resource mobilization, or the employees. How will I mobilize them so that they're able to, deliver services to the maximum as expected? One strategy will be designing clear policies that pertains to every job, because clear policies will enable smooth operation of the department. And I have said human resource is about managing the policies. Another method that I know works very well is clear communication, so that information is passed smoothly across the department. Effective communication brings a better understanding improves on the output, and eventually there will be an improved service delivery. We also I would engage on, again, if there are any gaps within the employees. Gaps can be on how they perform their duties. I would recommend, depending on the available resources within the budget, I would recommend, one, we can work on capacity building, which may not really be so expensive as training, but still training of those officers is another option. So I would endear to ensure that the staff are motivated and their issues are clearly handled as they arise. If there are any disciplinary cases, though I've seen that question will also appear, discipline must be handled delicately and with a lot of attention, because if discipline is not handled following the clearly stated steps, it can demotivate. It can demotivate an employee. So generally about the human resource, we have more, but you have given me time that I think I can still touch on others as I continue. How do we handle grievances and petitions? First of all, issues of petitions must be taken very seriously, and petitions should be first analyzed so that it is established whether they are very serious or mild, or there are those issues that can be resolved through, you can, have a small group, you negotiate, you discuss over those petitions, because anything that is petitioned means there is an issue at hand that must be handled. Some of the petitions, if not handled properly, may escalate to even demanding legal action. And if this happens, I think within the county, though I have not really, I'm new and I might not really speak authoritatively over this. What I can say is I believe there are those legal channels that the county can undertake in handling those petitions that are grave and are very serious. Handling of grievances. One, I would create an open space where members of the public can have confidence that whatever they express will be taken into consideration. I have seen this work where you can get a grievance book where every member of the public can just come in, note down on any prevailing grievance, and I believe that could be a channel through which those grievances can be had. And once they have been noted, it follows the same way. You categorize the grievances and give direction to that. Discipline. I have said it is a function of the human resource. When an employee may be out of performance, cannot really measure the expected performance, there are disciplinary course of action that can be taken. And let me just mention the steps that I have. One, we can engage. I will engage that employee verbally, get to understand why this employee has that case to answer. If it continues, then that means then I have to take the second step of again putting it down in written. And in this case, I will record that this action has been taken So this will be put on record and also serve a copy to this member. If the same in discipline...
Maybe because we have so many questions ahead of you and some of honorable members still have some questions to ask. It's my request is that just to me, I think you are somehow done on that one, because at least we have seen, at least you understand how you can handle that issue. You can move to the rest of the questions because of time.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I should just clarify that disciplinary does not rest in the office of the Chief Officer. A dismissal is done by the Public Service Board upon recommendation. Thank you.
But who gives out a letter of dismissal? Is it Public Service Board or Chief Officer?
I believe it is the Chief Officer.
Thank you. Move to the other questions. We are only left with 10 minutes, and you still have 7 questions and some.
Okay, so there's a question that I'm supposed to distinguish between a CEO, finance, and finance management in my department. I want to distinguish that basically public service management is about managing the employees in terms of remuneration, employment, remuneration, selection, discipline, and all that rests within the department. And the CEO of Finance will perform finance mandates as provided for in the public service, as per the responsibilities of the officer. So there's a distinction. Basically, public service management is about the employees, remuneration, salaries, and this is also recommended from the finance department. I will not operate independently.
But maybe on that, remember also that you get some allocations as a department of public service management, either being recurrent funds. So maybe, I don't know, are you agreeing with Mheshimiwa Rende that you will not be in a position whereby you can handle any cash, anything to deal with money? Of course, it will not be cash, but of course you will get some allocation as a department.
Let me get it clearly.
As a department of public service management, I don't know if you went through the latest, the current budget, or you are not aware. There are some allocations that you allocated as a public service management department, be it salary, and also for the maybe some miscellaneous expenses. How will you handle that if you are going to leave it to finance?
Well, I believe issues of salaries is under the current budget. And if there is a supplementary budget, I believe also that there is an allocation maybe to meet on issues like payment of those casuals. And in the event that that allocated amount is not fully absorbed, it can be redirected to other functions. It can be redirected. So maybe mine will be to really look at that thin line between the operations of the CEO Finance and also public service management in terms of that absorption of funds. That will be an assignment I'll do. Issues of complaints arising from the public on matter security, whereby the public complains about workers. I believe, Chair, that within the public service, we have enforcement officers. And many a times you'll realize that there could be some gaps that it capacitates them in terms of delivering their mandates and giving good service to the public. And if in the event that there is a complaint, it would be appropriate to build their capacity. Maybe they could be harassing the public because they do not have enough knowledge and skill, and therefore they resort to physical confrontation. I would really recommend that they are taken through some training or capacity building so that they also learn on managing a public expectation. It is also good to, as they are taken through capacity building or training, it will be appropriate to draw the line in terms of their jobs, because that could be a motivating factor if there are very clear job descriptions for these officers. Otherwise, in my knowledge, I know security is very important. Likewise, any complaint from the public should be given adequate attention. We have the issue of casuals. We have employees who are employed as casuals. And there was a question, how long should they be within that category of being casuals? Well, I may not have sufficient information on the length, but I know minimum should be 6 months, upon which they should either be confirmed or their service could be transferred to other departments, or create other avenues of employments for them. So transfer of service could be an option. The number of employees, the last time I checked, it was 5,001, but yesterday somebody told me there are 3,000 employees. So I have a rough figure on the number of employees in the entire county. I don't know, maybe is it because of the head count factor or what, I don't know. I believe I had an interest and I established how many employees were there. That was around November. I was told there were 5,001. No, I don't.
Are the information from reliable sources or from unreliable sources? The one for 3,000 and the other one for 5,000.
Well, I may not really comment, but I believe the source must have had an idea.
And there's somebody, through the chair, and there's somebody, is it an information from an informed officer or someone?
Thank you.
Maybe you can answer that direct.
Thank you, Chair. May I withdraw the statistics that I've given?
Thank you.
So can I proceed? Yes. Then why public service management when my background is on education? Chair, within the training and the educational background, and the fact that I have taken a management position, I believe I have dealt with the public in different, and engage the public in different spheres of life. Being a teacher, I was a civil servant, and hopefully being now a public service management officer, I will now be dealing with the public. In my understanding, I'm only transferring that service from civil to public. I believe with the knowledge that I have, I can manage issues of public in the same way I was able to undertake that responsibility within the civil service. I can say this with confidence. Influence from politicians or persons who have interests. Having really an interest in working as a Chief Officer, Public Service Management, I did some research and study on some of the trends within the public service. And I know a very key concern is on issues influence, maybe influence to get employment opportunities, maybe influence, maybe to get some favor or any that may demand so. I have had 28 years experience in teaching, and with the 14 or so years in management, I have an understanding that being in this office demands that I should always adhere to the laws as provided for in the Constitution. Laws on fairness, laws on openness, integrity, that is also in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. I want to believe by all standards I should be able to abide by the guiding laws and principles pertaining to opportunities. Because contrary to this will mean I will demean my image as a public servant. So I will adhere to the Constitution and all the related laws and principles of this office.
I think you still have 2 more questions. The issue of status quo. And there's also a wage bill.
Maybe I can get a clarity on that question.
The issue of wage bill was that what might be the figure of Wasingishu County when it comes to the issue of paying staff, casuals, I mean permanent, also those who are on contract, and the casuals. So what might be the wage bill?
Through Chair, to
Yes,
add on that, it meant that you are managing a workforce that are employees of the county versus the development vote of the shareable revenue to the county government. That there is a law between 35% or 65 to 70%, 35% to development and 65% to recurrent expenditures. So, do you know, employing means you are eating on development. So, do you know the current wage bill of the county? Are we in the development vote? Are we eaten into the development vote, or we are within a safe recurrent vote?
Thank you. I want to believe I'll not be asked again whether I have a reliable source, but I have an understanding that under recurrent expenditure, it always stands at 65%, and out of the 65%, 35% goes to personnel emoluments. And I'm told that our county stands at 38%. which in my understanding is fairly doing well, implying the process of approval, absorption of funds is still adequate.
Chairman, through your permission, I'd want to ask Madam Marion, did you try to do a research, or you only depended on an AC that you were told? Did you made an attempt of doing a research on the same? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Maybe I don't know if you can answer that directly because of time. Although now that you had requested that you should not be asked whether the source was from reliable or unreliable, I will just ignore that and assume that maybe what you are saying might be true, might be from the reliable sources.
Thank you. I think I wish to withdraw that on the basis that I'm not yet in it, and we have secrecy of office. So maybe once I'm there, I should be able to access this information adequately. I will do that, Your Honorable. There was a question on, I think we...
that was from Honorable Isaac Tamoke on the issue of status quo. Or you will come up with your own... what's your take on that? I think maybe if you had not captured that, I can ask maybe Mheshimiwa Isaac to repeat in...
Yeah. My question on status quo is that other than managing the workforce professionally, you find that some staff might be found to be working on a very relevant field of training. You might get somebody working in health services while he's a trainee of welding and fabrication or civil works. So at some point we are finding a mix of staffing or job placement. I was just talking of job placement, placing people on the right cadre of where they applied and qualified. Some officers are applied for some jobs and qualified, interviewed, but at the end of the day, you find them working in other areas. So I was talking on job placement, placing the staff on the right places. What's your take on that?
Thank you, Honorable Mheshimiwa Tamoke. And before you answer that, it is good at least to recognize the members who have joined us. I think we have two honorable members. You can introduce yourself. I have seen our Deputy Speaker also.
Chair, I had already... okay, maybe I can repeat.
There's no need. Honorable
Thank
Patrick.
You.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I'm Honorable Sarah Malel, a member representing Kimumu and a friend to this committee and the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Honorable James Maina Washira, friend to this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. You can continue. And kindly be brief. We have already used 10 minutes for the next committee.
Thank you, Chair. On issues of employment again, whether I would maintain the status quo, first I want to appreciate that county government is a competitive employer. And likewise, it is an institution that is geared towards quality service delivery. Employment is dynamic. And there are so many reviews that are being done to ensure that issues of qualifications are taken into consideration. And I want to believe that within the county and the public service management, we have job descriptions. In the event, while recruiting suitable employees, it will be very prudent to actually work as per the given job group description. But in the event, if previously there was some employments that maybe later they were realized that they never met the threshold, it will be important that that is handled adequately in the sense that if opportunities that will arise.
Secretariat, I think it's time you replace the mic. Proceed as they organize for another.
Okay, it is the duty. It will be my duty as the chief officer to ensure that that communication is done appropriately. Let it be within the public, that the advertisement and the description of any jobs to be, any applications to be done should be very clear, so that as the process begins, it will avoid any cases of placements that are not appropriately done. I know this could be very delicate, but if handled very well, it will leave the public also happy and satisfied that there is some consideration. And I say this with the background that unemployment is a biting issue at the moment.
Thank you. I think on that issue, we have so many issues in our county, and I hope you will come and handle it in a fair manner. And I think what Honorable Tamake was referring was part of it. I don't know if it is, it might be part of it. The issue of recently we had transfers of sub-county administrators and also ward administrators, and some from other departments whereby they don't have any idea on what they are supposed to do on the other side where they were transferred. So I hope you will come and handle that. Thank you. I think you are done with those many questions. I will move to Honorable Sarah, and then I've seen you, Mheshimiwa Kodi. My first year will be the last one. Let me give opportunities to those who had not asked any question.
Okay.
Mheshimiwa Serem, I have seen you, but kindly, Mheshimiwa Sarah and the rest.
Thank you, Chair.
Let's have one question
My name is
each.
Mheshimiwa Sarah. Mine is, as a leader, you'll be required to make a decision and be responsible for the outcome of the decision you make. What will you consider when making any decision that affects your department and the county as a large? You know that responsibility when you take it alone. How are you going to deal with it? And my second question is, as my colleagues have said, is about the employment and all that. You know, there's so many people who are qualified and they're not employed. You know, this business of under the bridge, under such things. How are you going to handle? Because you have to employ the right people, give them the chance, the youth, and because if you don't, when somebody comes with a master or a degree and then you employ somebody with lower than that, how is it going to be? You should be equal to everybody. That's my...
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Sarah. Mheshimiwa Serem. Oh, sorry, Mheshimiwa Kodi, and then Mheshimiwa Serem.
Asante sana mwenyekiti. Asante sana Marion. Umejitambulisha vyema na umesema wewe ni mwalimu wa Kiswahili. Kuna jambo la maafisa wetu ambao hupenda sana utoaji rushwa. Sijui utachukuaje wafanyakazi kama hao. Asante sana mwenyekiti.
Asante Mheshimiwa Kodi. Mheshimiwa Serem, thank you.
Through the chair, thank you so much. Madam Marion, my question concerns, given this opportunity, how will you ensure that there is continuous improvement of services in our county? And lastly, from your own point of view, what do you think is the future of Kenya's devolution? Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Saren. I think it will not be fair if I will not give my vice chair to say something.
Maybe chair, before you give your
you have something to ask?
Yeah, I wanted to just to add on what is he
you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Aliuliza kwa Kiswahili, pengine nitaongeza tu kwa hiyo, maana wazingishi wanajua enforcement police na wamekuwa na issue kubwa sana. Watu wanalalamika wenye kupigwa, kunyang'anywa vitu vyao. Sijui utafanya namna gani, utawarudisha training, wafundishe human rights, waelewe hiyo vitu, PR yao, maana hiyo ndio picha kamili ya wazingisho. Wakifanya hivyo, ikiwa watafanya vizuri, basi tutaletewa jina nzuri. Ikiwa watachukua vitu vya watu, biashara, ita affect hata yule kiongozi ambaye ni governor wetu. What will you do about that?
Asante Mheshimiwa. Let me use my powers. I will give my vice chair maybe after she has answered the questions from Mheshimiwa Sara, Kodi, Serem, and Mheshimiwa Bishop. And then my vice chair will be the last. And I think you will be brief. And if it is possible, I've seen most of the honorable members who want to hear you talking Kiswahili, because they have gone through your CV and you stated very well that you are good in Kiswahili. You can answer those few questions in Kiswahili.
Thank you very much. On issues of decision making, and now with the knowledge that this is a public service, I will not underestimate on matters public participation in decision making. And I believe if I shall be able to factor in the expectations of the public through that process of public participation, I should be able, through my leadership, to make a decision that will satisfy the public and will raise the confidence of also the county government. Now we have this committee. I think in your introduction, you said you are a committee that you have vested mandates within the public service management. This will be another source of information, say that whatever decisions that will be made would be in line with the aspirations, would be in line with the expectations also from this very honorable house, who are very much in touch with the grassroots and also in touch with the people within their areas of jurisdiction. I would also really wish to indicate that consultation in decision making is very important. I would endeavor to consult with all relevant authorities. If it is issues of law, I will take that to the right decision-making organ. If it is issues of conflicts of interest, if it is issues of procurement, I know we have an office that is charged with procurement issues. I should be able to take that to their level, so consultation will be key in decision making. And then also report writing. Whatever decision has been made, it is good to always do a report. And again, it should, if need be, feedback is given back to the public to indicate maybe later whether they are satisfied, or if there are still issues to be handled. I think that will again take the same way. I didn't really get this issue of the rights of the employees, lakini nitazungumzia swala la utoaji rushwa ama ufisadi. Hili ni jambo ambalo ni nyeti sana, ni jambo ambalo linaleta hasara, hasa inapotokea katika jimbo letu. Hivyo basi maafisa hawa ambao wamepewa wajibu huo, kwanza iwapo itatambulika kwamba kuna upungufu, bila shaka itabidi kwamba wapewe mafunzo. Najua kwamba jambo hilo limewahi kutendeka, ili iwawezeshe na pia kukuza uwezo wao wa kutoa huduma. Swala la rushwa hutokea na pia huleta maangamizi mengi. Kwa hivyo kama afisa katika nyanja hii ya umma, ningependekeza kwamba katiba na sheria ya kikatiba kuhusu uaminifu, kuhusu nafasi ile ambayo kila mmoja anapewa katika kufanya kazi iweze kuzingatiwa na kila mmoja. Kwa hivyo naamini kwamba pia nami swala rushwa halifai, na tutumie kila njia na uwezo wote ule tuhakikishe kwamba tunaondoa rushwa katika jimbo letu. Continuous improvement of services. This one is key when it comes to this mandate, especially on service delivery. I would really endear to work on performance contracts. And in performance contracts, I will ensure that those, the annual work plans are adhered to, and it is followed to the latter up to the reporting stage, upon which I should be able to determine on the level of performance. And under performance, I would ensure that every employee is able to perform. Now, when it comes to improvement of service, we are not only looking at the employee, we also look at other resources provided to this workforce as they carry out their functions. For example, we should be able to take care of their safety. We should be able to take care of their future pension schemes. We should be able to take care of their remuneration and allowances or any other kind of payments that they deserve. And where gaps are realized, I've always felt there should be need to do capacity building. There will be need to do training so that they improve on service, on the service to the public. Now, in the event, the issue of discipline, I didn't mention this, that we should not always apply discipline to every situation. There are other methods through which we can help the employees to reform. One is by giving them counseling. I talked about issues of mental health. That one should not really be put to discipline. This one can be taken through counseling and support programs can be designed to help them get the necessary support. Another method to which can be applied other than disciplining can be training, because an employee may be capacitated, but once training has been done, we believe that they can deliver better. And Chair, capacity building is entrenched in the Millennium Development Goals. I read that and I realized it's a very, very important component when it comes to service delivery. The future of devolution in Kenya. I really want to appreciate the many gains from devolution. Devolution has led to very close services to Mwananchi, and the future will be more resources. If more resources are allocated, it will be of great benefit to the common Mwananchi. Also, these resources will help in terms of more services to be devolved. For example, and again, I should not be quoted, that health has not been fully devolved. If it is fully devolved, all of us would realize the benefits, because before devolution, we never had level 5 hospitals, which level 5, level 3 hospitals, which now, as a product of devolution, we now have those very, very great facilities. The future of devolution, if well implemented, is bright. It is a noble idea.
Thank you. I think because of time, honorable members, I will just give the opportunity to maybe my vice chair, unless I've seen leadership. I've seen Mheshimiwa Chief Kule, who is a deputy leader of majority, and also our deputy speaker. Already I've given chance to Honorable Tamoge. So unless otherwise, Mheshimiwa Chief Kule, kindly, one question, kindly. And then to DS, and then my vice chair, then we finish.
Thank you, Chair. As you have indicated, I'm Honorable Samoy Isaac, MCA Kapsaos, a friend of this committee. Mine is not just a question, but a clarification. I have gone through the CV of the nominee, and apparently I'm seeing another name missing, another name coming in another department. Specifically, documents for primary school, there is none called Marion. When you come to high school, the same.
Mheshimiwa Tamoge, I will cut you short on that, because that was among the first the first 3 questions that we asked her, and she really explained.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe we can move to Mheshimiwa Malel, in case, unless if you don't have anything to ask.
Thank you, Chairman. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Marion for making it this far. Congratulations out of many that may be applied for the position. You have the appointing authority has managed to give you this opportunity for us to see whether you are suitable for the job. Nonetheless, Chair, from my sitting here and the few clarifications that he has made, I'm fully contented with the what I wanted to ask, because she has already talked about it on the issues of the wage bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think Honorable Rendo was just trying to correct me that I used the name Tamoge instead of Isaac Chief Kule. I think I was right. I said I had already given Mheshimiwa Tamoge the opportunity. So I know your names, Mheshimiwa Isaac and Mheshimiwa Chief Kule. Direct to my vice chair.
Thank you, Chair, for granting me this opportunity. I'd want to appreciate Madam Marion, for you've come a long way until this day. I believe and trust that it's the will of God. I really want to because you are one of the women, and we always say the strength of a woman is always and should be emulated by the society. I want to thank you because I really wanted to ask you the last question that you answered pertaining consultation. All along I've been listening. I've not heard you saying anything to do with consultation, but I want to appreciate because in your last words you talked about consultation. I wanted to ask you, how could you work with the CECs and the CEOs and directors and head of departments for the smooth running of the county? But out of the question that you answered as your last question, you've talked about it, and I want to appreciate. Thank you so much, the chair, for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate.
Thank you. I think I'm going to give you a total of 5 minutes to answer those questions and also maybe your parting shot. So it will depend with you. If you are going to use 2 minutes and then 3 minutes, your parting shot, it will be okay. No questions from honorable members? It was just maybe comment and congratulations.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, especially from my vice chair. I think us as honorable members, men, I think it is time also that we need to learn that we need to appreciate our men who are, I've not had that, but most of the time I'm getting that from women. We congratulate you too. We are happy also as men seeing you as a CEO. So you can use those 5 minutes. Your last prayers.
Thank you very much, Chair. I also want to reciprocate by thanking this very honorable House, first for acknowledging the role of women in the society and also appreciating the courage that I had in seeking for this appointive position. I want to really appreciate the interaction that we have had. I want to say it had very, very appropriate challenge, which as a leader, I would not leave it unattended. I will still do more to research, look into some of those issues that maybe I may have understated. Having this opportunity to really sit before you, to be interrogated, gives me great honor. And I believe that this will not only rest here. I want to assure you that I'll continue doing more in terms of knowledge development, in terms of delivery, and maybe other very, very important attributes that will make me a better leader. As I make my submission, I believe that what I've said is myself. I have not spoken of anything that I believe I cannot really handle, that I cannot take responsibility. Whatever attributes that I've said about myself, I take responsibility that I am equal to the task, I have the qualification, and I have the interests of the public at heart. And I've not only said it here, but I've also had it in practice. There is one area that I never mentioned, Chair, that while I served as a teacher, I took a key concern on children who have challenges, physical challenge. Specifically, there's one school that is called Ndalat Jobs Outreach, a school where we were the brainchild of ensuring, or actually of providing social, psychosocial support to these children, material support, and also financial. And we made it an annual event where we would go interact with those children who are very special. And I would invite this honorable House to have time one time to visit this school that I loved so much while I was a teacher at Ndalatga Girls. I want to believe that with your blessings, I am ready to serve as a Chief Officer, Public Service Management. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Marion, or CEO, incoming CEO, Marion Chepkemboi Birgen. I think we have to include Kitur. And I hope you have touched on the issue of CSR. I hope you will extend that to other wards. And please make sure that you consider starting with the one for the chair. Consider, I've used the word consider, so you will consider that. Thank you for doing that. That is good. As chair of this committee, I want to appreciate also the way you have handled the questions from honorable members, the way you have handled to yourself, and the way you really clarified some issues. I want to thank you on that. And as on behalf of my committee members and also friends to this committee, I want to wish you the best. As you have said, you have really requested that we consider you. It will be up to honorable members, especially members of this committee, to either approve you as the CEO or not. But I think if your prayer is powerful and if you have said it's the truth, I think you might succeed. So I want to wish you the best, and please, all that you have said, I hope you will still come and implement all of them, not part of it. And my wish is to see that there will be no more retrenchment letters, maybe disciplinary letters, the way you have stated. You have stated that clearly, that there are some ways that you can do, apart from having disciplinary letters to staff. That's our wish as honorable members representing our people for Singishu. I wish you the best. And I think our Sergeant Tam will do the necessary. After this, I think we'll have our lunch. You will join us. We want to invite you. And Sergeant Tam will do the necessary. Honorable members, especially members to our committee, I think will still remain for some few minutes for housekeeping. And for those many remarks, our meeting stands adjourned maybe until maybe tomorrow. As members of this committee, we have another CEO coming, that is from 8:30. Thank you.